missiles being fired, troops pulling triggers, bullets striking the water. These are scenes from large-scale military drills underway on Palawan, part of the Philippines archipelago. Palawan sits at a strategic edge facing the South China Sea. The drills began on April 20 and shall run until May 8. While some exercises are taking place near the South China Sea, others are unfolding in northern Luzon, facing the Taiwan Strait. Both locations lie close to some of the region's most sensitive flashpoints. So why are these exercises taking place? Who is taking part? What are they preparing for? And how does China see them? Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Unman Bhattacharya. Let's connect the dots. These are joint military drills held every year. They are called Balikatan. It is a Filipino word that means shoulder to shoulder. In these exercises, troops simulate defending territory from a mock invasion. What's different this time is the scale of participation and the complexity of the weapons and scenarios involved. Every year, the armed forces of the Philippines and the United States Armed Forces take part. Australia joined in later years. But this year, 7 countries are participating: Philippines, United States, Australia, Canada, France, New Zealand, and Japan. Around 17,000 troops are involved, including about 10,000 from the United States, a defense treaty ally of the Philippines. What's more, the weapons and activities have grown more complex, with advanced live-fire drills and integrated defense scenarios that bring together modern systems and multinational forces.
IMD is integrated air missile defense is an approach in conducting air defense operation. So it is a comprehensive, layered defense that composed of weapon system, command and control, and sensor system. So basically, we participate by doing an integrated approach with our allied countries. So you have witnessed the live fire exercise done by our allied.
To tell you a little about the history of Balikatan, the first Balikatan exercise was held in 1981. It began as a joint training activity between the armed forces of the Philippines and the United States Armed Forces under their long-standing defense cooperation. Since then, it has been conducted regularly with some pauses over the decades. Balikatan is mostly held in the Philippines at multiple training locations, including northern Luzon, the part of the country facing the Taiwan Strait, as well as Palawan and the Zambales regions near the South China Sea, along with other bases around the archipelago. From 2014 onwards, Australia began participating regularly in the exercises. In 2025, Japan took part as a full-fledged participant for the first time, following years of attending mostly as an observer and the implementation of a defense cooperation agreement with the Philippines. While there are 7 participating countries in the latest edition, several other nations are involved as observers or in supportive roles, further highlighting a trend of growing multinational involvement beyond the traditional US-Philippines partnership. Reports say that the Philippines' BrahMos cruise missile systems were included in training simulations this year. Here's where India comes into the picture. The BrahMos system used by the Philippines is the same supersonic cruise missile jointly developed by BrahMos Aerospace, a collaboration between India and Russia, and later exported by India. The Philippines became the first foreign operator of the system after signing a deal with India, making it part of its coastal defense capability. So why are these exercises held? Here is the Philippine military leadership explaining the purpose behind Balikatan.
The real value is showcasing of our resolve to work together to defend the Philippine archipelago and to uphold the rules-based international order.
And here's why the location of these exercises near the contested South China Sea matters to the Philippines.
This area is very important because, as we all know, Palawan is facing the West Philippine Sea, and it's just across the Kalayaan Island Group, which of course we are defending as our exclusive economic zone and where we get our resources, food and energy resources. No? So it's really very important that we defend this territory of the Philippines.
Now here's how the United States sees Balikatan, even as it remains heavily engaged in West Asia, locked in a conflict with Iran.
What is unique and new this year is the fact that we have 7 participating nations. All of the nations that are participating are bringing important capabilities that will directly contribute to our exercise objectives to strengthen interoperability, improve readiness, and contribute to stability in the region.
But there are some voices of resentment too. Demonstrators in Manila are opposing these exercises.
The government said it has nothing to do with the U.S. attacks on Iran. But the Balikatan will allow the U.S. to test its weapon and missile systems in our islands. So the Balikatan will drag the Philippines into the endless wars of the U.S. The Balikatan will endanger our local communities. It will undermine our national sovereignty, and the resources used for the hosting of Balikatan should be allotted to provide subsidies to our people. So the Balikatan reflects the expanding U.S. military intervention, and it does not address the basic needs of our people.
Japan's participation in Balikatan is significant. For decades after World War II, Japan maintained strict limits on overseas military activity. But in recent years, Japan has gradually expanded its security cooperation with regional partners. Its participation in Balikatan signals a willingness to train for real-world contingencies with Southeast Asian partners, not just focus on the defense of its own territory. Geography also adds context. Northern Philippines faces the Taiwan Strait, while Japan's southern islands lie close to Taiwan as well. Training together in northern Luzon allows Japan to practice coordination in a region that would be directly affected in the event of a Taiwan crisis. Japan's role in Balikatan has become even more significant following a new base access agreement with the Philippines. Signed in 2024, the Japan-Philippines Reciprocal Access Agreement allows the Japan Self-Defense Forces and the Armed Forces of the Philippines to enter, operate from, and also use each other's bases for training, logistics, and joint exercises. It is the first such agreement Japan has signed in Asia, similar in scope only to its arrangements with Australia and the United Kingdom. Now, because of this pact, Japanese forces can now legally deploy into Philippine bases, pre-position equipment, and train from locations they may realistically operate from in a contingency. And why is the US part of Balikatan? The United States participates because it is a formal treaty ally of the Philippines. The two countries signed the Mutual Defense Treaty in 1951. In simple terms, it states that if either country's armed forces, ships or aircraft are attacked in the Pacific, the other will act to respond to the threat. This makes them treaty allies, similar in principle to US alliances with Japan or NATO partners. In addition to that, agreements such as the Visiting Forces Agreement and the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement allow US forces to rotate through and operate from selected Philippine bases. So the US presence in Balikatan is about fulfilling a legal alliance commitment and practicing how both sides would respond together in a crisis. China, for its part, has repeatedly criticized the Philippines for holding large-scale defense exercises with its allies, saying such drills risk increasing tensions in the region. From China's perspective, Balikatan reflects the Philippines' growing alignment with a wider security network that could be used to counter its influence in the South China Sea. But Philippine officials maintain that the exercises are not directed at any country.
The Balikatan is not intended to provoke or intended to address to any particular country. We repeatedly say that. But all countries have the right to be prepared for everything, especially if there are threats to national security. And these exercises are conducted for preparedness. This is for readiness of our armed forces, at the same time to learn and to make sure that we have a secure and open Indo-Pacific.
Now let's understand why Balikatan matters in the context of tensions between China and the Philippines. The Philippines and China have ongoing maritime disputes over reefs, shoals and waters in the South China Sea, where both sides assert overlapping claims. Tensions have repeatedly flared around locations such as Second Thomas Shoal, Scarborough Shoal and areas within the Spratly Islands. These are the same waters where Balikatan now rehearses maritime defense, island defense and coastal security operations. In that sense, the exercise closely mirrors the types of scenarios the Philippines may face during real-world maritime standoffs. At the same time, wider regional dynamics also matter. Any major crisis involving Taiwan would likely affect nearby air and sea space, including areas close to the northern Philippines. This is why training in Luzon also has relevance to broader contingency planning in the region. Balikatan is not designed as a Taiwan-specific exercise, but because of its location and scenarios, it naturally develops capabilities that could be relevant in such a situation. So, to sum it up, whether viewed as routine military training or as a signal of growing coordination, Balikatan reflects the evolving security environment of the Indo-Pacific. The exercise may end in days, but its strategic relevance to regional dynamics